Um, I'm sharing my story about something that I lived at a very young age, before the age of 15. I think I started to date around the age of 11 or 10. I think the first kiss was at the age of 12 or 11. And I started to mate at around the age of 13. And at the age of 18, I was already going through my first separation, my first divorce. I've only lived with a person for a year and a half or about 2 years, the longest. And that's the longest period of time that I've ever made it with in a relationship. If I ever mate with a person, it doesn't last more than a week, a few times, or a month, or a few months. It's been a long time, more than 5 years since the last time that I've gone out on a real date. So I was around the age of 13. I'm sharing my story of something that happened to me. I was very young. I didn't know much about love and relationships. I had tried lots of relationships, but it never lasted a semester or two. And before the age of 18, around the age of 16, 17, 18, I had lived with someone for about a year and a half, but I said 2 years because I wasn't sure about how many months it was after the first year. And so this person didn't go to the same school and didn't live in the same neighborhood as me. But I had met a few friends from around the neighborhood where I grew up. I lived in that neighborhood my first 10 years of my life. As a matter of fact, the only time that my parents were living together was there in that neighborhood. And um, I think I was around the age of 13 when I met, no, like I think the age of 12, 12, 11, 13. No, no more, no younger than 10. I met a friend, and he was from there, from around the area. And I didn't know him all the years of my life. That was a big falsification. But I'm sharing my story of something that happened to me. And so the person I was living with, his birthday is in October, Halloween month. And there was lots of reports in my family before we met, me and him met. Um, there was lots of reports at my grandma's house, at my house, at my cousin's house, uh, about the houses being haunted. Unexplained knocking, unexplained footsteps, and apparitions would occur, and voices would sound in the house. So we ended up moving out lots of times since I was little. My dad left us before I was 6 years old, and so he left us, and he moved out. He moved over to the city of Alamo, and we were living in the city of Far. And so I met a friend, right? And my cousin was the reason why we met that one friend. And my cousin turns out to be from October as well, Halloween month. And I had no interest in him as a husband or for sex or for starting a family. As a matter of fact, it was the first time I had ever gone on a date with anyone that knows the family. And so it turns out that we were on a date. I was dating his friend, and he was dating my cousin. But this was a long time ago when we were like just kids. We were just teenagers. And my cousin's birthday's in Halloween month, but the first week of October. And my ex husband, the one that I was with for like a year or two, he was also from October. But he never knew the stories about that. That we had lots of reports of unexplained knocking, footsteps, and sounds and voices and apparitions at my cousin's house, which the one that celebrates in October, and my grandmother's house and my mom's house. She didn't know about that. And pues I grew up with my mom and my dad's family only. All the other people that I met were people from the neighborhood, but I met them because of my cousin, because my cousin would come over on the weekends or in summertime. And my cousin and me, we were born in the same city, and we were raised in the same city. And both my parents and hers were not poor people, but she came from a better family because she lived with both her mom and her dad, and I didn't. I only lived with my mom and dad the first 5 years. And so my mom and my dad were working for the school program. My dad was a janitor, a custodian, and my mom was a parent volunteer. And we were explaining how you don't need to have money from the person that gives you the job or the opportunity of work so that you can become a better person. You don't need money to become a better person. It takes experience and acknowledgement and that you want to become a better person. And if you're always by yourself because you feel sick, then you need to try and fix that. And a day is a lot because in one day you could make $100. And it's more important for you to make money because you can buy your Christmas gifts and pay your Christmas party. I'm from December, no, from the first 2 weeks of December. And so yeah. So my friend he was from a neighborhood, one of my friends, and my dad wasn't living with us when I met him. And I really didn't think anything bad about him the first time that I saw him. I honestly was not sexually attracted to him or into him as a relationship or anything like that. But after a few times that I saw him, I started to have interest in him, but I couldn't because my cousin and him were dating. And he would always have this thing where he would come and see me and ask for my cousin, but I started to feel that the visit was not for her, that the visit was for me. And I was like, okay, let me see what I can do, because I've had this problem with my cousin before where we argue and fight. But when we were little, I didn't even think about that because I was barely going to be 18. And I had never had a problem with my cousin around that time. But when we were little, we did because we were little, you know? And so I never thought that my cousin would, leave the relationship with my friend or anything like that. I didn't even think about that, to be honest with you, at first, because um, we didn't see it like that. We were very young when we met, but we were from the same neighborhood. My cousin was from the same city as us two, me and my friend, but we met because of my cousin. But she was not from the same neighborhood. She was from the same city, but not the same neighborhood. And so he was a little bit older than me. He was about around the same age as her. And so I was younger than both of them, and my dad is older than my mom. And both our family was working for the school, except for her mom. Her mom was a hairstylist. And so her dad was a teacher, but we didn't know he was working for Donna, some city over here in Texas called Donna. We didn't know that. We found out till later. Yeah, and so yeah, so we started to have a lot of problems because we didn't know what we were getting ourselves into. And we were very young when we started to date and mate, me and my cousin and our friends. And so I never thought that I would leave my husband that I had in high school for another person. I was really, really regretful because it was my first time in my life that I had ever lived with someone. And so yeah, so we were by ourselves. over there in in a house, and it was not in the neighborhood or the area that we're from. It was way over there in the fields, like where there's lots of like property but no houses, like that. And I had to drive all the way over there almost every weekend and almost every day of the week for like about a year and a half, to go see my husband. But I didn't think about a wedding or marriage or a relationship or anything like that because we were very young. And I know if I could tell you the whole story of what happened, you'd be surprised. Now, every time that we celebrate Halloween, I think about my friend, but my friend died. He died in a motorcycle accident. And I always think about him now. Se me aparece. He appears to me doing stunts in his motorcycle in Halloween. And yeah, so my that's why we celebrate Halloween now. Because my husband, when he was with me, when we were living together, I didn't celebrate Halloween with him. We only celebrated Christmas. And now I always think about my friend in Halloween. Some friend of mine, he died in a motorcycle accident, and he appears to me in Halloween, the night of Halloween, October 31st. And so yeah, so I broke up with my fiance, my husband, and I was really regretful because I realized that my friend used to like me, but that he didn't know how to tell me. And I was like, I was feeling very confused. I didn't know that he liked me, and I was regretting it really bad. I was depressed from high school, like the age of like 18, all the way till like the age of like I'm still depressed. But it was like this was a long time ago. And so yeah, so my uncle now he throws a party every October. My uncle, and I told him thank you, Theo, because that's bringing back lots of like hope of recovering and going back to a regular schedule. Like you have no idea how I felt. I was feeling like really bad. I was feeling hopeless and lost without him. And every time I think about him and I feel that he's there with me, se me quita. Like se me quita the depression and the confusion and all that stuff. I haven't seen my husband since more than 10 years. He doesn't want to talk to me. He doesn't want to know nothing about me.